Hello, I'm Camilla Carr, and welcome to For Your Health. On today's program, we'll be talking about careers in law, social work, and pharmacy. Joining us today to discuss careers in these fields from the University of Maryland, Baltimore, are Natalie Eddington, Dean of the School of Pharmacy, Bronwyn Maiden, Assistant Dean of the School of Social Work, and Phoebe Haddon, Dean of the School of Law. We also have a studio audience that will ask questions later on in the program. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today. I'd like to begin by asking each of you, how did you decide to do what you're doing now? Natalie.
So it started for me in high school. I had a neighbor who was a pharmacist, and she's a woman, and this was around the time of the late 70s, and I was very interested in what she did every day. So she took me to work with her. She worked in what is now CVS. It used to be People's in Washington, D.C., And I basically shadowed her. And what was so fascinating about being a pharmacist is that she was so well known by all of the customers, all of her patients. And she looked at her patients as her patients. And she provided them information about medications, or if they had a rash, or if they had a cough. And they were so appreciative. And for many of those individuals, they may have seen a physician every other year or, every 5 years, but she was a person that allowed them to maintain their health.
So you really like this hands-on, so to speak, contact.
Yes. It was an opportunity to really interact and see that you are having an impact on someone's lives, and that's what she would always say. And so that was how I got interested in pursuing a career in pharmacy.
Bronwyn.
I was a child of the 60s, actually, and I was really taken by the activism that was going on in the community in terms of what Martin Luther King was doing. And so consequently, when I was in high school, I participated and led a number of student marches in the city of Baltimore, and I can remember one march that I led, and it's actually kind of funny now, was that they would not allow female students to wear pants to school, and we thought that that was very important, and I led a march on what was then the headquarters of Baltimore City Public Schools to really demand that. And then from there, I went on. When I went to college, I also was one that was always very involved, again, with the civil rights movement. Went to Mississippi a number of times to help organize people the right to vote. I think I was the only student in Baltimore City Public Schools that in my purse and in my I had the card of a lawyer, because I was always getting into trouble, and he is still a friend of mine today.
But for a good cause, for good causes.
Oh yeah, I mean, always for good causes.
we're going to make.
I was always a 15-year-old, and I would pull out this card, like it was a card, like it's going to get me out of jail or something like that. And my mom knew, and actually my family was very involved with civil rights, so it was they really actually encouraged me. And it was something, I guess, I did. It was a way also to protect me, because I didn't get involved in things like drugs and alcohol and all of that, because I pushed all of my emphasis and everything in terms of working in the movement.
Phoebe.
Yes. Well, I come from a long line of lawyers and educators. My great-grandfather was both a lawyer and an educator. And so it seemed like a fait accompli, really, from the time that I was young, that I would think about either going into education or becoming a lawyer. For those generations that came before me, becoming a lawyer, if you were a woman, was problematic. You really did not have those kinds of opportunities. So becoming a teacher was the option. However, by the time I got into high school, and certainly by the time I went to college, more and more women were becoming lawyers. And like Bronwyn, I was very active, both in my high school as a leader as well as in college as someone committed to social activism. And like Natalie, I was very interested in the relationship between the lawyer and the client, or the relationship between the teacher and the student, as I thought about what my career possibilities might be. So being a lawyer and an educator was perfect for me.
It's interesting because all three of you chose people-oriented careers. Although there's corporate law and there are different types of law, and we're going to touch on that in a minute. But it was interesting. You were all drawn to helping people in some way. When do you think a student should start thinking about what he or she wants to do? Do you think middle school, is that a good time?
I think today it's probably middle school. I think that there is such a focus on being prepared for college. There's such a focus on the types of exams that you have to take. And I think you have to start preparing and thinking about it and being aware. There are opportunities that students have when they're in middle school, and especially when they're in high school, where they can do things in the summer that give them a flavor and exposure to what they might foresee themselves doing in their career as a function of going to college. So I think that the opportunities that you have in the summer months, doing internships or just volunteering. If you can't find a job that pays, volunteer in an area that you think that you're interested in, because the best thing that you can do is prepare well. But the other part of it, if it's something you hate, you'll know it sooner as well.
Right, and so you won't end up in a career that because you think either everyone else is doing it or your parents, they really want you to do it.
It's got to be for you.
I noticed you were nodding, Bronwyn.
Well,
I guess what my question is, there's kids out there thinking, well, I'm in middle school, and how can I find anything to do? Well, they can't really work.
Well, you can always volunteer. As Natalie said, you can volunteer. I mean, the needs are so great in a city like Baltimore that you can do things. I remember taking a youth group to help with making sandwiches and everything to feed the homeless. And some of the young people were in middle school. Some of them were even younger. And the younger kids would put it in the bags, whereas the other ones would handle the food and everything. So I think you look for opportunities, whether it be through your church or faith-based institution, or whether it be through friends and neighbors. But I think the younger you start, and I really agree, you would rather have experience and start with something that you think you want to do, and you can find that through talking to teachers, guidance counselors, your principal. They're the ones that can start steering you in different directions.
Phoebe, let's say you want to become a lawyer and you're in middle school. What subjects should you be taking? What kinds of volunteer opportunities you might want to explore?
Any and all. Being a lawyer is really being able to be a problem solver. It's being able to read and write well. And it's being able to think very critically and analytically. And so taking courses that reinforce those kinds of skills cross the curriculum. So you really don't have to prepare in the sense of being single-focused on what you do as a middle schooler. I would say experiment. Take as many things as you can, but be a good, solid worker. Work hard and really understand that you have to be excellent in order to become a lawyer.
You mentioned critical thinking, and before the show I was speaking to someone about word problems, which everybody hates. I can still, I have nightmares about having to do word problems, but that teaches you critical thinking.
That's right. And we all think of ourselves as good speakers at a certain point, but taking some debate courses or joining the debate club, playing chess, anything that reinforces those thinking skills, the speaking skills, and reading skills. Read, read, read. You have to read. But I have to say, quite frankly, that comes as a positive thing for all of these career opportunities. So you're really setting yourself up no matter what you do in middle school, as long as you work hard and study hard.
Well, what about high school? Do you have to be more focused, Natalie, in high school?
So I think if we're talking about a career in pharmacy, I think that what you need to focus on there is really chemistry, general chemistry in high school. I think and math and calculus, those are the areas that will be very supportive of being successful in education involved in pharmacy. I think that's important. But also, as Phoebe said, communication is critical. I mean, you have to be effective, you have to be able to communicate to all different types of individuals, to patients, to the elderly, to children. And I think providing yourself with opportunities, being structured opportunities in high school or other opportunities, that being members of student organization, taking leadership positions in those particular forms will be very helpful. But science is important. Chemistry is probably the most important. Calculus is another area that's important. Not probably the most favorite courses of many students, but if those are things that you like, but those are things that you like to do, a career in pharmacy would suit you, because that's the foundation of the profession.
What could a student that's interested in pharmacy do in the summer in terms of a job? Would there be any types of related jobs, perhaps just working as a cashier at a drugstore?
So working at a cashier, volunteering in pharmacies, either in the community setting or in health settings.
So when you're volunteering, what would that consist of in a pharmacy?
That would probably consist of being a part of the workflow. So if someone brings in a prescription, you might write their name down. But you get used to patients, you get used to the medications that they may be receiving. There are also opportunities. We have 3 schools of pharmacy in the state of Maryland. We're always looking for volunteers to help out during the summer. And student volunteers are great because they're so enthusiastic and so energetic, and they always want to learn more. And so those are some great opportunities, I think, if someone is really focused on enhancing those skills that will make them more successful.
Speaking of the school, how many years does it take to become a pharmacist?
So to become a pharmacist, it takes a total of 6 years. So 2 of those years are what we call pre-professional. So those are the general chemistry, organic chemistry, sociology, communication, biology. And that's probably 2 years in an undergraduate school or community college. And then in the School of Pharmacy, it's a 4-year program. So it's 3 of those 4 years, it's 3 years of coursework. And then there's also hands-on training. So as part of the educational experience at pharmacy, you actually work in a community pharmacy settings or health system settings or in the public health service or the FDA. There are many types of experiences we provide our students, because at the end of that 4-year period, you have to sit for an exam that provides you your licensure to practice in the state of Maryland or wherever you take your board exam.
Now, do you have to be licensed in each state to be as a pharmacist?
You have to be licensed as it relates to the law, because the law is different from state to state. But for the exam that really looks at the competencies of pharmacy, you only have to be licensed in one state, and you can reciprocate to various states in the U.S.
You mentioned coursework. What kinds of courses in the pharmacy school?
So in the pharmacy school, the initial part of the curriculum is science-based, so you'll take genomics, molecular biology.
Please tell our audience what genomics are.
So genomics really looks at the function of genes in our body and gives us some perspective of the role in genes and how well you respond to medication. So that's what we teach our students. Biochemistry, which tells us a lot about what proteins are important in certain disease states and in certain healthy states. And then we get into specifically disease states, so pathophysiology. That really looks at what causes diabetes, what causes congestive heart failure. Then we look at what are the medications that are used to treat those conditions. And then we look at different types of disease states, because unfortunately in our country and around the world, few people just have one disease at a time. We are confronted with treating diabetes and congestive heart rate failure or hypertension and asthma. And so our students have to understand how to treat all of those. And I might also put a plug in for pharmacists. I think that the perception of the pharmacist is that they know a little bit about drugs, but the pharmacy student spends 4 years learning all about drugs. So in terms of all health professionals, they're the experts because they spend so much time focusing on it.
You know, I think a lot of people weren't aware that it's a 6-year program either. I think there are people, because there is also a pharmacy assistant.
There's what we call a pharmacy technician
Thank
program.
you.
So that's a 2-year program, and it will allow you to work in a community setting or health system setting, but you're not a pharmacist. You support the activities of a pharmacist. You're not licensed, and you can't counsel patients, which is, I think, one of the more exciting parts of being a pharmacist.
Is that a good stepping stone, though, to becoming a pharmacist?
A lot of, yes, because a lot of pharmacy students have been pharmacy technicians, either in hospitals or in the community pharmacies, the Walgreens, the Rite Aids that are around the state.
Well, we need to take a break right now, but we will continue this conversation when we come back. Stay with us.
It's one of the many ways to fight osteoarthritis pain. For more information on managing pain, go to fightarthritispain.org.
Hi, Mom. Hi, sweetie.
How's it going, buddy?
I'm bored. I think I'll ride my bike.
It may never be this easy to help your kids find balance, but you have more power than you know. The WeCan Parents Handbook and website can help you maximize that power. You'll learn how to help kids choose healthier foods and how to make it fun for them to get active. Who can help kids maintain a healthy weight?
We can.
Visit the WeCan website for a free Parents Handbook plus tips, tools, and resources. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
In a moment, cancer changed our lives forever.
We were told nothing could be done to enjoy these final moments together.
But in that moment, when all seemed lost, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital gave us hope.
Because at this moment, St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is saving lives with pioneering research and care. We're changing the way the world treats childhood cancer by sharing our discoveries with doctors and scientists everywhere.
And we'll never have to pay St. Jude for anything, ever.
At this moment, she wants to be in her own bed.
I want to be back at school with my friends. I want to be outside playing.
Please take a moment and join St. Jude in finding cures and saving children. Visit stjude.org.
Welcome back to For Your Health. We have with us today the deans of the School of Law, School of Social Work, and the School of Pharmacy from the University of Maryland, Baltimore. And we're going to continue our discussion about these careers. I want to move from pharmacy now to social work. Bronwyn, earlier you were talking about how you became involved because you were always protesting and demonstrating. Is that a prerequisite?
No. It's just a little bit in terms of my background. But no, I think, social work is just so different than what it was. I think people just believe that all social workers do they are intrusive people that come into the home and take away children. They're child protective workers. And that's one thing that they do is that they are looking out for children and young people, and they may end up being a child protective worker. But in addition, they do a lot of other things. They can be the advocate. They can be principals. I just read a book by Dr. Steve Perry, and it was interesting to me that I noticed that he was an MSW first, and then afterwards he decided that he wanted to get his doctorate, and he now runs a very successful school.
Please tell our audience, what is an MSW?
A Master's in Social Work, which is what I am. That's a person that goes beyond college for 2 years, and at the end of the 2 years you have a master's degree in social work as long as you do everything and you graduate.
Let's talk about, we'll start again, middle school and high school. How does a student prepare for that particular career?
I would say really reading, doing a lot of reading, being able to express yourself, because one of the roles of a social worker is to really be an advocate. Whether it be that you're speaking before something like the school board, whether you're doing a TV show, whether you're in the community and you're advocating for your clients, so that you're speaking up many times on behalf of people that really don't have much of a voice. People that are some of the most vulnerable in our population, whether they be children or the elderly, whether they be poor. These are folks that many times they need someone to speak up on their behalf, and that's part of the role of a social worker.
You mentioned reading, but are there any particular subjects that someone should focus on, or is this more a liberal arts approach?
It's more of a liberal arts. It's more of a generalist type approach in terms of your background, knowing about different people, different backgrounds, actually being someone that's going to be out and about and talking to other students, learning, as well as listening. I think giving that listening ear is a very important skill that social workers need to have. Also, wanting to be a helper, just wanting to help and to see what they can do to improve things.
Bronwyn, I would assume that you really have to have a sense of compassion as well to do this kind of work.
Well, compassion, commitment, passion. You really have to feel the fire in your belly, as I like to say, if you want to be a social worker. You're not going to be working many times in ideal conditions. We have social workers that work with the homeless. They're on the streets late at night. So you basically are someone who has to feel that you want to make a change and make a difference in this society if you want to work to be a social worker. Our president is a community organizer, was a community organizer, and that's what I am. I mean, what I described to you, what I did in terms of organizing people to march on school board headquarters, it was as a community organizer, and that's the type of thing that social workers do many times.
Could you give us a quick laundry list of the types of jobs that are under the social work umbrella?
Sure. Mental health. That's one thing. Most people don't realize that most of the mental health services are provided by social workers in the state of Maryland, over 70%. People think that it's psychiatrists. Most of the time, they're the ones that write the prescriptions. The people that do the talk therapy, that's the social worker. So I would say a mental health. A guidance counselor many times is an MSW that you find in the schools. The advocate is a social worker. The person that's working with the children and families, they may be called a counselor or geriatric social worker. We also now are in some new fields like employee assistance programs, so that's something all across the country you find in almost any big business where people that are working for that business need to talk to someone. They may be having substance abuse problems. So you find that social workers would be substance abuse counselors. So it's just a variety of things. Like I said a minute ago, our president is a community organizer, and that's one of the things that social workers do.
How important is a course in psychology?
It is very important. You're going to find that thread going through the social work curriculum, and you start at your first year. So actually, it's in a way kind of similar to pharmacy in that you end up getting a bachelor's degree. You can go to an accredited college and get a BSW, a bachelor's in social work. If you do that and you decide to go to an accredited School of Social Work, like the University of Maryland School of Social Work, then you would come in as what's called an advanced student, which means that you can do all your coursework in less than 2 years. So instead of coming in and doing 2 years, which is what I had to do, you can come in and be advanced and do it in about a year.
Wow, that's fascinating, because I guess everybody thought that, you know, it was just 4 years. I mean, can you still go just 4 years?
No, you can go for 4 years, but you really, by law, are not considered to call yourself a social worker. You really do have to have the MSW degree as well as be licensed, as what you heard from Natalie in terms of pharmacists. So social workers also sit for a national licensing test, and if they are fortunate enough to score over 70% and they pass, they then are a licensed social worker.
How big of, I've been reading there's a huge need for social workers.
Yeah, I think as the economy continues to tank and not getting better, you're finding more and more people that are falling into categories of need that they never thought that they would face. So we're seeing so many middle-class people that now are turning up either at shelters because they've lost their home, or either they need some assistance and services that social workers are beginning to have to serve them. What's interesting, though, when you have a person who was formerly middle class and they now are seeking services, they're much more aggressive than people that we would consider poor or underclasses. And so it's just very different in terms of the dynamic, in terms of how you begin to really work with them.
When you say aggressive, what are you talking about?
They really are more forceful in terms of wanting things and wanting things right away because they're so used to being able to pay. Usually it's because they understand how to work within the system. Many times people that are vulnerable just don't know how to advocate and work within a system. And so consequently, many times middle-class people have learned that skill, and they use that with social workers. One of the things that a new field that we're doing is financial social work. So we're teaching people in terms of how to do better with their money, how to do better with banking, so that you don't maybe end up looking out and needing, to have a social worker because of bankruptcy or things of that nature.
So I guess studying accounting in high school, would that be?
That could be something, yes, that could be useful if you're interested in really learning about the financial literacy and financial social work. So that would be helpful also.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Phoebe?
Yes.
You hear about so many people are saying, well, I'm going to go to college, and, well, I think I'm going to go into law. But the way they say it, it's like, it's like, well, I really don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to go to law school.
Well, for many people, I think law school is a way of kind of finding themselves because there's so many possibilities of what you can do with a law degree. And so I like to really encourage people to think about law, but it's a very long commitment of time, and it is a very arduous curriculum that you will be exposed to in law school, so I wouldn't do it lightly. And I don't think that you can today think that you can simply go to law school and a job will be available for you. You have to be much more aggressive, I think, in thinking about how you use your law degree. However, the one thing I want to really encourage young people to think about especially is that, as we said earlier, in law school we teach you how to think more analytically and more critically and to be problem solvers. So you can just imagine the whole gamut of things that you can engage problem solving in, and you can use your analytical skills.
So someone in middle school, someone in high school, they're thinking about becoming a lawyer. What kinds of courses or subjects should they explore?
Yeah. So we talked a little bit about that earlier. I think almost any writing opportunity, any course that really challenges you to think critically, so it's not necessarily writing, speaking, or debate. Any science courses might be good not for the substance of the science, but for how you think when you are applying and testing hypotheses, or learning how to think about what science does for people. And any of the courses that are really considered to be rigorous courses in your middle school or your high school.
And what would be considered rigorous courses?
Courses that really challenge you to think in a different way, courses that really encourage you to learn how to read more closely and more carefully, courses that teach you how to raise questions in a different way, that challenge you to think about yourself differently, that give you listening skills as well as speaking skills. So I'm not going to come up with a name of a course. I think all of the above, anything that is rigorous, anything that really will demonstrate your strengths in thinking and reading and writing will be helpful in the long run. And it also, to me, is a sort of liberal arts approach in the same respect that Bronwyn said. You don't have to take a particular line of courses, particularly in middle school, but even in high school. We don't say that there are requirements other than college preparation. If you have the opportunity to have advanced college courses, advanced high school courses, those are the courses you want to take.
Or the so-called college prep
courses.
College
prep. Any college prep curriculum is going to be good for you. I also want to say that lawyers are also not only problem solvers, but they also do good. We are really committed to helping the community. We stand by the law. And so we really encourage and look at the record of students who have volunteered, who have been engaged in the community, who have taken leadership positions in their classes, because it demonstrates the kind of thing we think are important for lawyers.
How long is law school?
It's 3 years for the most part. If there are evening programs in particular areas or part-time programs, it would be 4 years.
Right, because I know that there are people that do go to school at night, so it is possible to work and study law at the same time.
Yes, not every law school has an evening program or a part-time program, but almost every state has some sort of part-time program. That's in addition to your first 4 years of college, of course.
I have some friends, and they have law degrees, but they're not practicing law. So just because there are other avenues open, correct?
For sure.
What are they?
Well, many of our grads go on to be in business. In fact, some of the best leaders are people who have been involved in corporate or other kinds of business ventures. You can be a small business person or a large business person. You can be a person who is involved in nonprofit organizations. You can be in practice, that's the prototype, but certainly you can also do almost anything with a law degree. And again, what it is thinking like a lawyer, going through the process of considering all the possibilities, looking at both the upside and the downside as you go into problem solving. Now, this is a health discussion, and I want to really advocate for the future of law people being involved in the medical team. And so on our campus in particular, we now have students who are from the law school, from the School of Social Work, from the pharmacy school, from the medical school, in a team that goes out with doctors to examine some of the patients.
Thank you very much. And we have to take another break, but when we come back, our audience will have the opportunity to ask our panelists some questions of their own, so don't go away.
This is Mike. Mike is going to breakfast before he starts his day. What he doesn't realize is that Jim, his waiter, helped save his life. You see, Mike is being treated for heart disease. 10 years ago, Jim volunteered to participate in a clinical study researching a new treatment for heart disease. It was successful, and the new treatment was made available to everyone, including Mike. Like millions of other medical heroes, Jim's participation in clinical research was a gift to Mike and all people who might benefit from this new medication around the world. Just like Jim, medical heroes can be found in everyday places. To learn more about clinical research, visit CISCRIP, a nonprofit organization at medhero.org, or call 1-877-MED-HERO.
No!
Oops. Yeah, sure.
Moms everywhere are finding ways to keep kids active and healthy.
Works every time.
Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov.
Some parents are afraid to let their children play.
I start coughing and stuff.
I have asthma.
Asthma isn't curable.
My chest be hurt.
But with the right medication, asthma symptoms are preventable.
Asthma never slows me down.
It can be controlled.
You can get asthma under control and give your child the ability to
play hard
and breathe easy. For more information, visit playhardbreatheeasy.com.
Welcome back to For Your Health. We've been talking about careers in social work, pharmacy, and the law with the deans of those schools at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. We're now going to give our audience an opportunity to ask some questions. And, sir, I'd like to begin with you. May I please have your name, your school, and your grade?
My name is Rudik Martinez, and I go to Digital Harbor High School, and I'm in 11th grade.
And your question?
My question is, can you attend pharmacy school part-time?
No, you can't. So what we do have, though, is we started a new program about 5 years ago. And it's an online pharmacy program. So it's at Universities at Shady Grove near Gaithersburg. And what it does is allows all of the coursework that is a part of the curriculum to be viewed online. And there's some labs. So in a sense, in that program, you're not there the whole day, except for days when we have laboratories. But we don't really have a part-time program.
Why is that?
A part-time program? Because I think so many of the courses are dependent on other courses, and they need to be taken in a synergistic manner. And so if they're not taken together, you sort of forget the prerequisites.
It's sort of like you lose your momentum?
Yeah, you need to have those courses because they really build upon each other. But our online course curriculum might be something to think about.
Thank you. Sir, you have a question?
Yes.
Your name and your grade and your school.
My name is Daquan Brown. I attend Digital Harbor High School, and I'm in the 10th. And I wanted to ask, what's the year's salary for a lawmaker?
What, you mean, how much a lawyer makes? Well, I think maybe a range might be appropriate.
Right. So because we do so many different things, the range is really wide. If you're in a nonprofit organization, you may not make a lot of money. If you are in a large law firm, you may make a lot of money. If you're a business person, it's whatever you make is yours. So it could be anywhere from $30,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's not likely the case that you will come out of law school and make that hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it is more likely that you will be making $30,000 or $40,000 for many years or for your life, depending on what it is that you want to do.
Is it possible, I've been reading and I've talked to some people that they have come out of law school and they have been able to start in the 60s or the $70,000 a year. Is that more corporate?
It would likely be law firm or corporate. It might be government, depending on the kind of government activity that you're engaged in. So there are, for example, honors programs or programs that put you directly into a regulatory area, and they may be around $60,000 or $70,000.
And I've also talked again to some people, and they say that if they've interned at a law firm, the chances of being hired by that law firm are greater. Is that true?
That is, in some cases. In the old days, it was certainly true. If you started in a law firm, there was kind of the expectation, if you did your work well, that you would likely stay there. I think people are changing more, and that's reflective of changes in the structure of law firms themselves. So we're not seeing the same sort of option of staying around. Although if you're trained to think like a lawyer, your options are always open. So you can go into very different directions. So I would imagine that for you, if you're thinking about law, there'll be 4, 5, maybe 6 job opportunities as you move through your career. It's not going to be one. It's not necessarily going to be even in one particular area. That's fun to me because you get to experience a lot of different things.
You have a question, sir. Could I please have your name and your school and your grade?
My name is Marwan Abdul Wahab. I went to Digital Harbor High School, and I'm in the 12th grade. And my question is, how much does it cost for a law school to attend at the law school?
Yes. Law school, like all of the professional schools that we are talking about, is very expensive. And law school in particular can range from anywhere in the neighborhood of $20,000 to $70,000. It really is dependent on the kind of school that you're looking at, the kind of degree that you'd like to use, whether it's a national or a local school. But the fact of the matter is that you will have the opportunity to both seek scholarship support for yourself as well as loans.
Thank you very much. Another question over here. Yes. Could I have your name and your grade and your school, please?
I'm Mark Miller. I'm a senior at Digital Harbor High School, and my question is, what kind of mindset, or I guess my question is, what kind of mindset should you have, pursuing one of your careers?
You're talking about any of the careers?
Any careers. This is a toss-up question. Any mindset.
Who would like to start with that?
So I think one of the important things is that you have to be very serious about what you're doing, because as Phoebe said, the cost of tuition is so high. And so if you commit to going into law school, or pharmacy school, or social work, you really have to be serious about it. One of the things I always talk to our students on their first day of orientation is you have to be able to manage your time. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges I see in students, because you've got so much to learn, you have a short period of time, and then there's an exam. And then that all goes over and over and over again. So I think being serious, being committed, and understanding the importance of time management is critical for success.
Bronwyn, do you have anything to add?
And I think also your writing skills, again, you really are going to need that in all of these areas. And so I think you have to pay attention to that early on in high school, getting help with that. In college, many times they have writing labs. But those are some of the things that I think you really do need to pay attention to.
Thank you. I see a question down here at front. May I please have your name? And I won't ask you what grade, although I'd like to.
Brittany Martinez. I have a...
And you're a mom. Unbelievable.
Yes, I am his mother. Where are your pharmacy schools? Your colleges?
Right. So in the state of Maryland, there are 3 schools of pharmacy. My school is in Baltimore, in the downtown campus, near the University Hospital.
Okay,
so
thank
if you'd like to come visit, have a tour of the school.
Beautiful building.
Please just stop by.
I'm glad you brought that topic up, that subject up, because it is possible, if a student is interested in any of these fields, to come and have a tour.
Right. Absolutely.
Not only have a tour, but sit in a class.
Right.
Yeah. It really is something that you ought to do. Just like we're saying, volunteer, come in and taste it.
And not only that, our campus, most people don't know, we have a dental school as well as a medical school and a nursing school. And I think that you would find that it would be interesting to go to any of those schools and, again, not only take a tour, but to sit in a class. And you're invited to do that.
Who else has a question? Do you have a question?
My name is Maurice Harrod. I'm a senior at the Vivian T. Thomas Medical Arts Academy, and my question is for Dean Maiden. As a City Schools alumna and as a lifelong community organizer, My question to you is, does your institution have any programs that engage high school students?
Actually, we do. We are reaching out to high school students to get them involved in a number of initiatives. One of is one that I direct called Promise Heights, where we're working in Upton as well as Druid Heights, and we're working in that community to help children as well as their families go from the beginning of life all the way through high school, college, and beyond. And so we are actually looking for students that would be interested in working with us. We work a little bit with Renaissance High School, which is a college prep school in that particular neighborhood.
Thank you. Sir, are you know you're not a student.
No, I'm Dr. Wilson, principal over at Reginald Lewis High School. My question is it possible to earn a total degree online in any of your areas?
So as I mentioned, we have, in the School of Pharmacy, we have a certain portion of our coursework online, but a critical part of the curriculum are the laboratories, working in the model pharmacy, so almost.
Social work?
Social work, no. Part of it is that you have to really, we have courses online, we do that, but you also have to do an internship, and that's a very important part of it. So in your first year of social work school, and this is after having a BSW, a bachelor's degree, you're going to do 2 days a week, and you're going to be in what's called a field placement. And it can be anything from being a hospital social worker, a school social worker, and you really need to begin to learn those skills as well as you're going to be going to class. In the second year, it's 3 days a week. So again, you really it's not something that you can do online.
Phoebe,
yes.
Can you get a law degree online?
Not presently. There are some schools that are more involved in that kind of work, but again, we believe it's critically important to have the interaction within a classroom and to have the clinical experiences, that is, interacting with clients and other people in your problem solving. So presently, no accredited law school can do it completely online.
Thank you. You have a question?
Hi, my name is Kimberly Davis, and I'm a junior at Reginald F. Lewis. My question is, what advice would you give any high school student?
Advice for what?
Advice for just like education and furthering your education.
Study hard. Develop good skills. Did I say study hard? Develop good skills. Read, read, read.
Anyone else?
Again, I have to emphasize those writing skills. And I think that you really need to have strong writing skills for any of the schools that you're interested in pursuing.
I'd like to thank our audience for their very good questions. And we're going to take another break, and when we come back, we'll have some final comments from our guests. Stay with us.
Hello, I'm Dr. Tanya Eggers-Collins from the National Cancer Institute. Did you know that the foods you eat can play a role in your cancer risk? It's true. People whose diets are rich in fruits and vegetables have a lower risk of getting several different types of cancer. They are also less likely to get diabetes, heart disease, and hypertension. The National Dietary Guidelines recommends eating 5 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. Fruits and vegetables contain vitamins, minerals, and fiber that work together to promote good health. Only fruits and vegetables, not pills or supplements, can provide all of these nutrients together. If you're not eating many fruits and vegetables, 5 to 9 may sound like a lot, but it may not be as hard as you think. 1 serving fits into the palm of your hand, and a salad may contain several servings. Everyone has the power to make healthy food choices. By eating healthier, increasing physical activity, and maintaining a healthy weight, you lower your risk for many chronic diseases, including cancer. Best of all, you'll discover that eating right doesn't always mean giving up the foods that you like. The National Cancer Institute offers a free cookbook called Down Home Healthy Cooking. It has a helpful selection of cooking techniques, healthy food substitutions, plus dozens of recipes. To learn more about how diet may affect your cancer risk and to order the cookbook, visit www.cancer.gov or call 1-800-4-CANCER. To learn more about increasing your physical activity, consult the Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans at www.health.gov/PA guidelines. And remember to stay healthy.
I'm Ian, I'm 6. Hey, I have diabetes. I was 100 days before I got diabetes. It's not that good. Diabetes is weird. Do you have diabetes? Yeah. My name's Kim. I have diabetes. In my life, there will be a cure. There will be a cure. We need a cure. How can you help?
Welcome back to For Your Health. We've been talking about careers in law, pharmacy, and social work with the deans of those schools at the University of Maryland, Baltimore. Before we go, I would like to ask each of you, what is the one thing you would like students to take away or remember?
Well, as it relates to pharmacy, I think pharmacy is a profession that will allow students to really interact in a substantive way with patients. High school students, if they're taking science courses and communication courses, are well prepared to enter into a school of pharmacy. They have to go to college, they have to take the prerequisites, and they have to focus on the various courses in order to be successful. I think once they complete that and they have completed the program, they will be able to practice pharmacy and interact with patients as well as physicians to enhance patient care and create positive health care outcomes. And they will know that they've had an impact on a patient's life.
Thank you. Bronwyn?
Well, I would think you need to really be prepared, seize opportunities. And what I mean by that is just like Dean Eddington mentioned earlier, that when she was growing up, she went to the pharmacist to really talk with her. She hung around there at the store to really find out what she needed to do so that she could be prepared to become a pharmacist. And I think students need to do that also, so that if there's a social worker in the school, that they need to reach out to that person. If there's a lawyer that they know, and if they don't know a lawyer or a social worker or a pharmacist and they think they're interested, I would say that they really need to let their teacher know or the guidance counselor and say, why don't you set up a field trip for us? Everybody loves trips. And come on down to the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and go to some of these schools and sit in on some of the classes and see what they can learn. And it'll help them, I think, crystallize what they want to do with their lives and their careers. Also, kind of remember that you're not going to have one job for your whole life. Those days are over, and I think now is the time to be able to really explore and to see what you think you want to do. And that's why I guess I say be prepared.
Phoebe?
I want to echo everything that they've said because all of it is true. But I also want to encourage people to think about this as a life's journey. And so you might start thinking about being a pharmacist. You might start thinking about a social worker. You might start thinking about being a lawyer. But I think if you have the chance, go out and see what they do. Understand a little bit more about what the range of possibilities are. And I want to emphasize what I've done throughout. Thinking like a lawyer means that you can really apply the skills of lawyering in many, many different contexts. So you can't simply think about lawyers in stereotypical ways.
I have to ask this question. What happens if there are students that they really don't know what they want to do at this point, but they're considering, is there something wrong with that if you don't immediately know what you want to be in middle school?
In fact, what you think you know, you don't know.
Right.
If there's one thing we want to encourage you to do is experiment.
Yeah, I think that's very important because if you're in middle school, you're really not going to have the exposure, the understanding of what it is you want to do. And it may change from year to year until you graduate from high school.
Or college.
Or college.
Yeah.
And
That's a good point.
So I don't think you should put pressure on yourself. You should have as broad of a range of experiences as it relates to your coursework as you can. And then identify that one thing that inspires you, that energizes you. That's what you should really commit to it in terms of focusing your college education on.
Bronwyn, I know you started very early because you were you demonstrated, you were a protester, but there are kids out there thinking, well, suppose that's probably not something they want to do. What do they have to make that decision right away, even in high school?
No, you don't have to do that. As a matter of fact, at the School of Social Work, many times students will come in and think that they want to be a clinician, you know, providing services, let's say mental health services or counseling to an individual or a group of individuals. And then once they get there and they do that in terms of an internship, they may find out, well, you know what, I like group work better. Or I like, you know, being out there and being the advocate. Or I like to do policy change. You know, few people know that Senator Barbara Mikulski is a social worker, and she graduated from our school. You know, we have a U.S. ambassador who is a graduate of the School of Social Work. So we have people that are in many different positions and doing many different things are actually social workers and social workers at heart.
Phoebe?
So really I want to emphasize the fact that we have both people who come straight through college and come to law school, and we have people who have had many different other careers and come back to a professional school like law. So I want to encourage people to experiment and do other things first if they're not quite sure that's what they want to do. But having a law degree really opens up lots of other doors as well. The president's a lawyer. The president's wife is a lawyer. Our mayor is a lawyer. The governor is a lawyer. There are members of legislature who are lawyers. So there's lots and lots of opportunities to participate in government areas, but also political lives that people can engage in.
And the message I'm getting from each of you is that it's possible that you will be changing as you go. You know,
yeah.
You may start with pharmacy, and there may be an area in pharmacy that you would like to do, but then you decide, well, I want to do something else. The same with social work, and clearly the same with law.
The world is open to you.
What a wonderful thought to end this program. We'd like to thank our guests, Natalie Eddington, Bronwyn Maiden, and Phoebe Hatton from the University of Maryland, Baltimore. We'd also like to thank our audience for taking part and asking questions, and of course, our viewers. I'm Camilla Carr, and we look forward to seeing you again on the next episode of For Your Health.